You're looking at almost $32,000 in winning DraftKings fantasy tickets over the last month. Each one of these users put up some massive numbers using the tools on the website. We got this $21,895 ticket just 2 events ago saying, thank you so much for the resources, Angelo. I finally broke through. Freckled Charles reached out last week with a $10,000 winning entry saying, I just hit for $10,000 using the optimizer. Both of these users have gone to our website, used the tools, and made a ton of money. This is DraftKings Fantasy, and we have an entire suite of tools on our website dedicated specifically to DraftKings Fantasy. If you go to WeWantPicks.com, you can instantly unlock a DraftKings Optimizer, a fight simulator, and a whole bunch of other tools that will help you build lineups. WeWantPicks.com has every tool, every pick, every bet, every resource you could ever need heading into a fight week, and is only $10 for an entire month. 1 month, a full month, all 4 events in a month, only $10 clean. What you're looking at here is the event simulator. This is a tool that simulates fights 100,000 times. All I did was click run simulator. It is doing those 100,000 simulations right now behind the scenes, and then it's going to spit out every single output. It's going to let me know who wins, who loses, what the distribution in fantasy points is. I can even look at stats like how many significant strikes a fighter is expected to land in those simulations. We also have a tool called the DraftKings Optimizer. This is the tool that Freckled Charles used to win his $10,000 entry. This tool just builds DraftKings fantasy lineups for you. It is preloaded with ownership projections and scoring projections. But if you don't know how to use an optimizer and you stumbled upon this video because you searched UFC Vegas 109 predictions, well, let me walk you through. You can just use the beginner mode. Obviously, a DraftKings Optimizer is a pretty advanced tool for people who take DFS pretty seriously. But if you want to enter into that world and give it a dabble, instead of expecting you to understand how to use that and what all those numbers are, we have a beginner mode. The beginner mode just asks you logical questions. You click some buttons, and then it will build the lineups for you. The reality is that our services at WeWantPicks.com are for everyone. We have copy-paste picks. We have copy-paste bets. We have tools to help enable you. No matter where you are in your betting or fantasy journey, there is something for you. It is only $10 for an entire month. That month will get you UFC Vegas 109, UFC 319, UFC Shanghai, and UFC Paris. WeWantPicks.com. Click Become a Member. It's freaking $10. It's $10. There's people out there charging $100 just for some bets that don't hit. There's giant DFS companies charging $300 a month for this exact same simulator, and theirs doesn't even show the strike lines and everything else that ours does. There's companies out there charging $100 a month for an optimizer. This is $10 a month for a couple of reasons. One, we're just a couple of boys that are figuring this all out as we go. And two, there is no reason to be greedy in this space. This is a volatile sport to bet on. So for $10, we make it accessible to anybody, anywhere on that spectrum of betting and fantasy, and we're just going to do a wider net for more people. WeWantPicks.com, click Become a Member. It's freaking $10. $10 for an entire month's worth of access. Let's go ahead and break down this card. This is an interesting fight card because the main event matters very, very much. They repeated over and over and over on last week's UFC Vegas 108 card that Anthony Hernandez has the second longest win streak in the division. The only person with a longer win streak right now is Dricus du Plessis, and he fights next week defending his belt. If he loses, Anthony Hernandez could officially have the longest win streak in the division. If he wins, and Anthony Hernandez wins, now we have the 2 longest win streaks in the division, and we may have a number 1 contender matchup. This fight matters very, very much for this division, but there's a lot of middleweight activity. Renier de Ridder just made a name for himself. UFC Paris has a number 1 contender matchup. UFC 319 is the actual title fight. There's a lot of really good matchups in this middleweight division, and that's what I love about this main event. Anytime you get a main event that is A, well-matched, and B, matters for the division, you got something to look forward to. Let's go ahead and break down this card. We're going to open it up with the newest fight on the card. We got Cody Brundage stepping up on less than an entire week's notice. On Monday, Cody Brundage got the phone call from the UFC saying, hey, we need another fight on this card. Do you want to step up? And he said, yes, of course. And the good part is both fighters are on short notice. It's not as if Cody's stepping in and his opponent had a full camp. Both of these fighters stepping up on short notice. The UFC only had 11 fights. They needed at least 12. Cody Brundage is coming off this loss to Mansour Abdul Malik, but that outcome is wrong. It is not a loss. It is technically a draw. If you remember watching that fight, it went a full 3 rounds-ish. The first round, Cody won. The second round, Mansour won. The third round was a firefight and then a headbutt, so they went to the scorecards, and at the time, they scored the third round. But after the fact, the commission said, we don't score third rounds here when it isn't a complete round. We cannot score an incomplete round. So you have to take that off the table. So then they score the first round and the second round. It was 1-1. It is technically, officially a draw. So Cody Brundage did not lose that fight. It was a draw. He's had a couple of wild outcomes. Abdul Razak Al Hassan, wild headbutt there. Bo Nickel, genuine loss. He beats Zachary's. Jacob Malkoon, another weird outcome. And Cody Brundage has had some highs and lows, which is why he gets a lot of hate from the community. But the reality is he's a high-level wrestler. He wrestled in college. He's got dynamite in his hands. And now we've seen the patience. The patience out of Cody is huge. Watching him go into this Abdul Malik fight, taking his time, not rushing, and having success was absolutely incredible. Cody Brundage, $8,200 right now, and that's kind of a discount. He opened as a massive underdog. He is now a good-sized favorite. He's taking on Eryk McConico. Eryk McConico stepped up on short notice in his UFC debut against Nursultan Ruzaboyev. And you can see here, he landed only 5 significant strikes. Only 6 strikes total in a fight that went a round and a half. And that's because he was just standing there and staring. Full-blown staring contest. I don't know if it was the short notice. I don't know if that's just his fight style, the bright lights. I don't know what did it, but that guy did not show up to fight. The reality is he's a 35-year-old regional fighter. Bit of a jiu-jitsu nerd. He'll come out, he'll throw some heavy shots, but he wants to get these fights to the ground, except he's not even aggressive enough. He's not shooting, driving. He's not rushing you against the cage to drag you to the ground. He'll catch a kick, and if there's an opportunity, he'll get it there. I think Cody Brundage is quite literally better than Eryk McConico everywhere. Obviously, it's a fist fight. Anything can happen, but I think Cody Brundage runs through him, and there are levels to this. You can hate Cody, but the reality is Cody is a UFC level fighter who has wins there. Eryk McConico hasn't proven that yet, and I don't quite think he's there. And at 35 years old, that window is closing. I think Cody Brundage gets it done. I think $8,200 is a fantastic price, especially on a card like this. Then we have Gabriella Fernandez taking on Julius Stoliarenko. Gabriella Fernandez is a striker. She's big as shit. She is a striker. She's got jiu-jitsu as well, but for the most part, she's a big, heavy-handed kickboxer. If she ends up on the ground, she'll use that jiu-jitsu, but she almost uses it too much, meaning if she's such a good striker and you don't want to strike with her, you take her down, she will hang out on her back playing the jiu-jitsu game instead of scrambling to her feet. She does have some very real power in her hands, and she is a good technical kickboxer. You'll see here she submitted Kong Wang. That's not what quite happened. That's not quite what happened. She drops Kong Wang, has her all out of sorts, and then pounced and got the submission. Kong Wang, as you remember, professional kickboxer, comes over to MMA, brings that fire, that spark, that energy, and Gabriella outstruck her and then subbed her. Gabriella looked fantastic in that fight, but she is big, and she relies on that size to defend takedowns, and she may not be big enough to defend the takedowns here against Julius Stoliarenko. Julius Stoliarenko is the opposite. Where Gabriella Fernandez is a high-level kickboxer, Julius Stoliarenko is a grappler. She's basically armbar or bust at this point. I just continue to call her the Temu version of Ronda Rousey, because if she can get your arm, she's taking it home with her. But if she can't, she's flailing about on the ground like a small child. Julius Stoliarenko, though, is massive. She is going to be the bigger fighter here, and Gabriella is not used to that. Julius Stoliarenko is very, very big for this weight class. But she comes forward, she'll bomb, and if she can't drag you to the ground, she's going to get hit a gazillion times. If she does get you to the ground, she's going to look for an armbar. And it was right at this moment when she submits the absolute dog shit Molly McCann that the collective MMA community was like, Julius Stoliarenko's good. She's very good. She's amazing. Then she came out in her last fight. It's like, oh, that's right. No, she sucks. She gets an armbar or she loses. I don't think she armbars here. Therefore, I think she loses. She can be finished. She can ride out a decision. I don't quite know if I'm going to put Gabriella in my lineup, but I do think Gabriella wins here. Fairly confident in that. Then we have Uros Medik, high-level striker. Takedown defense is okay, but he is a high-level striker with great finishing abilities. In his 10 wins here, all 10 of those are by finish. He comes forward. He works. He'll throw some knees. He'll throw nice jabs. He's heavy-handed. If he senses at all that there is some trouble on your side, he full-blown commits and he gets that finish. He did just absolutely get sparked by Punahele Soriano coming down in weight, but Punahele has unbelievable power, especially now at his new weight class. He is taking on Gilbert Urbina. Gilbert Urbina is not great at anything. He's kind of a bigger dude. He's going to move forward. He's going to try to get you to the ground. He's going to stay busy. He doesn't have a ton of power. He does have some slick jiu-jitsu. He's got fantastic cardio, and he's a bit aggressive. Gilbert Urbina, though, can be chinny. And I do think he's going to come forward. I think he's going to get cracked a few times, and I think Uros Medic gets it done. If Gilbert is able to drag this to the ground, Uros, I think, is good enough to stay safe. His takedown defense is there. Uros' scramble ability is there. And Uros is just the far more dangerous fighter on the feet. Uros is going to be the pick. I mean, I think he's okay to put in your lineup. Charlie Radke obviously just finished Gilbert Urbina. It's a little different because Charlie Radke is also a high-level grappler. So Gilbert had multiple things to worry about there. Uros is only a striker. There's only one thing to worry about. I just think Uros is good enough that that one thing will get it done. So Uros Medic is going to be the pick, and I don't hate his salary at $8,900. Then we have Joselyne Edwards taking on Priscila Cachoeira. This is another fight. It should be very, very straightforward. It should be. But I'll explain why it might not be. Joselyne Edwards, pretty good fighter. I've been very high on Joselyne in the past. She's a good rangy kickboxer. The knock on her was always her takedown defense, but not only has she improved the takedown defense, she has also started to work in her own takedowns. You can see she has had 5 takedowns in her last 2 fights. And the reality is Joselyne Edwards does a really good job throwing in combinations. She throws a ton of kicks. They're nice and heavy. She manages range. She stays busy. And she's also pretty big for this weight class. She just beat the absolute giant, the bridge troll, Jack and the Beanstalk, Chelsea Chandler. And she did so with her hands. She looked incredible in that fight. And if she brings that same technique, that same forward pressure, that same energy here, she can beat Priscila Cachoeira. Priscila Cachoeira is never the better fighter in a matchup. Skill for skill, she is never the better fighter. She's not a better striker than Joselyne. She's not a better grappler than Joselyne. She doesn't have better cardio. She doesn't have better takedown defense. She doesn't have better takedown offense. She's not better than Joselyne anywhere except raw toughness. She's a zombie girl. Just raw toughness. She's going to move forward, get in your face, and stay busy. She can be finished. We've seen her finish before, but she is incredibly tough. She just knocked out Joselyne Nunes with an unbelievable uppercut. A beautiful combination, land a beautiful uppercut, and got it done. I think Joselyne wins. I'm probably not going to put her in my DraftKings lineup, but the upside, though, is if she does get those takedowns going, she could be worth it. So I think you need some exposure to Joselyne Edwards because Joselyne's a better fighter. I think she gets it done. Priscila Cachoeira is going to move forward, get in Joselyne's face. If Joselyne adjusts and wrestles, she's going to be worth every penny in your DraftKings fantasy lineup. If she tries to play the outside game and just is like running and jabbing on the way out, she may not be worth that money. Joselyne Edwards is going to be the pick. Priscila Cachoeira is just so freaking insanely tough and grimy and gritty. She might just get in Joselyne's face and throw her off, but Joselyne's going to be the pick. $8,600. If you think she gets the wrestling going, then she will be worth it. Then we have Elijah Smith taking on Toshiomi Kazama. Elijah Smith is the biggest favorite on this card, and he should be. And not necessarily because he's the best fighter on this card, but he's got the lowest level opponent on this card, outside of Eryk McConico. Elijah Smith has good wrestling. He's got great power in his hands. He's the second ever father-son duo in the UFC. His father fought in the UFC, and now he is. He's very composed. He's very put together. He just beat Vince Morales. And Vince Morales is good. Vince Morales is an established UFC veteran at this point. And Elijah Smith beat him and did so pretty steadily. Did he score a ton of points? No. But Vince Morales is a durable guy. We saw wrestling. We saw grappling. We saw striking. Elijah Smith showed up into that fight. He was obviously a hyped prospect there, but he showed up in his UFC debut against an established veteran and was able to get it done. He's taking on jiu-jitsu nerd Toshiomi Kazama. Yeah, he did just win his last fight against Grigoriou, and my notes, my takeaway while watching live was, still sucks. He's not very good. He's a bit chinny. His takedowns aren't spectacular. He's got pretty good jiu-jitsu. Like, he's obviously capable, and we saw that when he beat Grigoriou, who's no longer in the UFC, but I just don't think he's going to have good enough wrestling. I don't think he's going to have good enough striking. Obviously, he can catch something in a scramble, but I'm almost positive that we're going to have good enough submission defense on the other side. So Toshiomi Kazama, I don't think he gets it done. My most confident fighter on this card is Elijah Smith. You probably need exposure to him. I think he finds a finish. Then we have Julius Walker. Julius Walker. And look at the price. I'll let you sit there and think about what the fuck is going on. $9,400. This gentleman lost his UFC debut against a 40-year-old, Alonzo Menafield. And I get it. Alonzo doesn't suck. He's a powerful striker, a veteran as well. But the reality is Julius Walker should not be $9,400. He should not be a minus 600 favorite against anybody yet. He is unproven. This line is obviously because of his opponent. Julius Walker's a big dude. He's long. He's rangy. He's not like a phenomenal striker. He's not insanely powerful, but he's got really slick jiu-jitsu. He'll catch things. He'll find stuff in the exchanges. But the reality is this guy has only been a professional fighter for 2 years. 2 years, that's it. And it's not like he's some wild phenom. He's not BJ Penn. He's not Derek Moneyberg going from 0 to black belt in 3.5 years. He's only been doing this for 2-ish years. I don't think Julius Walker's quite there yet, but I do think he wins this fight. And that's not because he's so great. It's because his opponent sucks. Raffael Cerqueira is not very good. What I will say, though, is he lost to Modestas Bukauskas and Ibo Aslan. Both of those people beat Julius Walker. Julius Walker's record would also be 0-2 against these guys. It'd be 0-3 if he fought these two and then Alonzo Menafield. I think there's a lot of recency bias in this line. The problem with Cerqueira is he's got no chin. He's a bit sloppy. Like, he's big, he's long, he's rangy, but he hasn't been able to get anything going. This guy's had 2 fights in the UFC and has landed 10 total strikes. He quite literally scored 0 points in his UFC debut in DraftKings Fantasy. So, of course, we can't be on this side. And I'm going to tell you to fade and avoid Julius Walker, but then watch him go ahead and spark a very low-level fighter in Raffael Cerqueira. But the reality is I can't touch it. I cannot touch it. Both of these guys, one of them's unproven. The other one showed us he sucks. I can't touch it. I'm going to leave both of them out of any lineups that I've got going on. Then we have Christian Leroy Duncan taking on Eryk Anders. CLD is supposed to be a high-level striker. He can get flashy at times, but he's got power. He's got good technique. He can flow really well. Good takedown defense. He's supposed to be that. But then, randomly, he shows up and he's a grappler. If you look at the Pulev fight, he came in, look at this, 6.5 minutes of control time. That's because he was holding him against the cage. He wasn't engaging in the striking. I get Pulev's a good striker, but what the hell are you doing, CLD? What the hell is this game plan? You're supposed to be a high-level striker, and you're refusing to engage in the striking. What the hell are you doing? Look at the difference between strikes and significant strikes. That's because it was just cage control with little pitter-patter nonsense. CLD is a good fighter, though. The fact that we've seen him use cage control and takedowns is actually a good thing. We know he has all the skills. The problem is that's not the right game plan for this matchup because he's taking on Eryk Anders. Eryk Anders is a big, high-level athlete. This guy played Division I football, the best Division I football program in the world at the time. He has also wrestled at a pretty high level. He's a big dude. He's athletic. He's a bully. He's strong. He's powerful. He's durable. If we run through his fight history, he's fought a lot of good people. And he is not really getting finished. Obviously, Thiago Santos made something happen there. But the reality is, for the most part, he's a durable guy who will get in your face. He will grind. And if the game plan from the CLD side is, let me try to hold Eryk against the cage, he's just going to get bullied. If CLD doesn't stay on the outside and be the better, more technical striker, if he makes this ugly, if he makes it dirty, if he tries to grind, Eryk Anders will outgrind him. I'm going to pick CLD because he's the more skilled fighter, but Eryk Anders is the exact type of guy that just durability, athleticism, and grit could win a fight over an idiot with a bad game plan. And CLD has shown us a couple of dumbass game plans recently. So I'm going to avoid these two as well. I think Eryk is a decent dog here because of how gritty and grindy he is. And because if CLD comes into this fight with the exact same game plan he had in his last fight, I don't think he wins. I think Eryk Anders quite literally needs to close the distance and get his hands on him. So if CLD is initiating those exchanges, I don't think it's good for him. Christian is the better fighter, is the pick. I'm probably going to do nothing with that information, though. Then we have prospect Jean Matsumoto taking on Miles Johns. Jean Matsumoto is good. He's only 23 years old. He is young as shit, but he is good. The Argueta win is solid. I think Dan Argueta is a good fighter. The Brad Katana win, solid. I think Brad Katana is a good fighter. I also think he beat Rob Font. That was a bullshit. He had 7 takedowns, 6 minutes of control. He had this little tiny paper cut, on his brow. And then they gave the decision to Rob Font. Rob Font didn't win that fight. Jean did. Jean's a good fighter. He's young. He's energetic. He moves forward. He stays busy. He is a good fighter. He does get hit a shit ton, though. His striking defense is not very good, but he's young. He's got a good enough chin. It almost doesn't matter. And obviously, as we've seen here, he can wrestle as well with 10 takedowns in 3 UFC fights. He's taking on Miles Johns. Miles Johns started his career as a wrestler. Then he knocked a couple of people out, and then he overcorrected and became a striker. Now he seems to be swinging back to like middle of the road. I will use all of the tools. And that version of Miles Johns, the guy that uses all the tools, who will throw big, heavy strikes, but also work in a takedown. That guy wins this fight. He's durable. He's got a good chin. He can wrestle. He's got powerful hands. He stays busy. He can move forward. We saw him. He lost, obviously, to Lima, but we saw that fight. He was gritty. He was trying to make stuff happen. He kept moving forward. Lima was just better. And that happens, right? You're not the best in the world. Somebody's better than you. On that day, it was Lima. Miles Johns, I think, is a phenomenal underdog. I think he makes it happen. And even if he can't pull off a decision, I think it's a close fight, and I don't see Miles getting finished. At $7,700, I think he's good value here because I think he will get it done. And while he's not the highest scorer in the world, like even in his wins, 74 points, 51 points, I think this is a very different matchup because Douglas Silva de Andrade is just a little stocky powerhouse cement kind of guy. Cody Gibson is huge. And I think we end up in a fight kind of like the Cody Gibson fight. We'll see some takedowns. We'll see some pressure. We'll see some hands. I'm picking Miles Johns. I will throw him in my lineup. I do love Jean Matsumoto. I just think it's a weird matchup for him here. Then we have Christian Rodriguez, C-Rod, taking on Andre Fili. This is about a fight where people are starting to split here. The Miles Johns fight has a lot of people split, and so does this one. Probably these two fights are the most split on the card, maybe the main event. Christian Rodriguez is a good fighter, but he has only ever beat prospects. If we run through his fight history, he loses to Jonathan Pierce, established UFC guy. He beats Weems, he beats Rosas, he beats Saman, he beats Delgarian. Okay, first of all, he missed weight in 2 or all 3 of these wins here. Saman, turns out, sucks. He didn't beat Delgarian. That was a bad decision. Then he fights a veteran in Urosa, gets subbed. He beats Austin Bashi in an unbelievably close fight. And then he loses to Costa in a back-and-forth war. Christian Rodriguez is good. He's got good striking. We've seen the wrestle-heavy game plan out of him in his last fight, so we saw the grappling there. Costa was just too slick on the ground, made it a little too gritty. That fight was at elevation, so it got sloppy. C-Rod's a good fighter. But we haven't seen him win yet against an established UFC guy. And you're not going to get much more established than Andre Fili. His record is obviously spotty as hell. Win-loss, win-loss, win-loss. But if we run through his fight history, Max Holloway, Gabriel Benitez, Calvin Kattar, Dennis Bermudez, Miles Jury, like Sadiq Youssef, Charles Jourdain, Bryce Mitchell, Joe Anderson Brito, Bill Algeo, like Nathaniel Wood, this was an absolute war. These are good, high-level opponents, and I think what the hell is his name? Christian Rodriguez, I think his record looks exactly the same as Andre Fili's if he had the same level of competition. So Andre Fili has high-level wrestling. He's got very good striking. He's got absolute dog in him. Go watch that Nathaniel Wood fight. He can be a bit inconsistent, and he makes some odd decisions in fights sometimes. But I do think Andre Fili can win this fight. As long as he doesn't make dumbass decisions, which we have seen before, like when he put his own head into a guillotine against Mel Costa in his last fight, as long as we don't see stupid decisions like that, I think Andre Fili could absolutely win this fight. I think he's a phenomenal underdog. And if you're choosing between one of these mid-tier $7,000 fighters, it's either Andre Fili or Miles Johns. Pick yours, and they both have their pros and cons. Miles Johns is the more durable of the two, but he doesn't put up the same type numbers. When Andre Fili wins, he gets after it. But Christian Rodriguez is a little more established than Jean Matsumoto, despite not having beaten anybody with any real UFC tenure. I'm going to be on the Andre Fili side here. I fully recognize that Christian Rodriguez is good, but this is also at 145 pounds, not 135 pounds. Then we have Iasmin Lucindo taking on Angela Hill. Iasmin Lucindo is going to come forward with those pouty lips and try to drag you to the ground. That's it. That's the game plan. That's it. Her striking's not spectacular. She's tough. She'll move forward. She'll let her hands go, but she wants to get you to the cage, drag you to the ground. That's it. That is quite literally her game plan. And if she can't, she will lose. If she can, she'll have some success. She's not really a finisher. Obviously, she's got a couple of finishes, but she's not really a finisher. Just looking to drag you to the ground and get it done. You can see here, couldn't take down Iasmin Yaryui, lost. Only one takedown against Limoges, lost. Everybody else in between, takedowns, 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 takedowns. So when you look at her opponent, Angela Hill, you can see, not on this graphic, but you can see she has been taken down. She gets taken down. Tabitha Ricci took her down 3 times. Other fighters have taken her down. She doesn't have the best takedown defense in the world, but what she does have is high volume and mobility. Angela Hill does a great job at 40 years old, mind you, does a great job staying busy, keeping her feet moving, not getting held against the cage, not putting herself into bad positions, and just outworking people. I don't think Angela Hill wins here. I do think Iasmin Lucindo will get the win, but Angela Hill is a phenomenal underdog because she can stay busy. We just watched her beat Ketlin Souza with busy feet and fast hands. That's it. She won that fight with busy feet and fast hands. She did work in her own takedowns, which I don't see her doing here. I do think Iasmin Lucindo is just big enough to bully, close the gap, get Angela against the cage, and rack up some time. I don't know how well Iasmin's going to score. Let's go back to her very quickly. I don't know how well she's going to score because in her wins, she does score some good points because the 4 takedowns, 2 takedowns, 2 takedowns, you can see the control time. $8,300 is an affordable price point, so I do think she's worth having in your lineup. But if you were squarely on the Angela Hill's going to win this, she's Neil Magny this week, she's going to get it done, then yeah, don't put Lucindo in your lineup. But if Lucindo wins, I think she's going to be worth every penny. Then we have Steve Erceg looking to break a 3-fight skid, quite literally fighting to save his career. Steve Erceg is on this 3-fight skid, and he's had a weird career. He comes into the UFC. He beats David Dvorak. Don't think he's in the UFC anymore. Beats Costa. Not in the UFC anymore. Beats Matt Schnell. I don't think he's in the UFC anymore. And then he loses to Pantoja in a title fight, gets knocked out by Kai Kara-France, loses to Brandon Moreno. You could argue this is the weakest 3 fights ever to get to a title shot, and you would not be wrong making that argument. He is 3-3 in the UFC, and yet here he is, tremendous favorite. Steve Erceg is a guy who doesn't quite know who he is because he is an Australian national wrestling champion. And now Australia has the wrestling equivalent of West Virginia, but it's still a giant continent, and at one point in time, he was the best wrestler on that continent in his weight class. But then he comes into the UFC. He's not really using that. In his UFC debut, he did. Took down Costa 1 time. Who cares? But after that, he's not really using the grappling. He found some success with his hands, and he's sticking with it. Brandon Moreno, for example. He landed a bunch, but none of it really mattered. He was losing that fight, didn't attempt a single takedown. Didn't get any, obviously, but didn't attempt any either. And this is a weird situation because I know, you know, he knows how good his grappling credentials are, but he doesn't quite use them, and he should use them here because Ode Osbourne stepping up on short notice. This is a short notice fight for Ode, not necessarily for Steve. Ode's a very good striker. He's got powerful hands. He's got fast hands. He's a very, very good striker. He's a very dangerous striker. We watched Steve Erceg get flatlined, not quite flatlined, but get smoked by Kai Kara-France. Ode Osbourne could 100% do that. Ode's takedown defense, though, is shit. It is not good. His takedown defense is not good at all. So even Australian wrestling should be enough to get Ode to the ground. So Steve Erceg, a high-level wrestler who doesn't use his wrestling, needs to get back to his roots. If he gets back to his roots, if he uses the wrestling, this is an easy win for him. I don't know if he'll score 9,100 points. Be worth $9,100 because he may just quite literally get 1 takedown per round and just coast because he is quite literally fighting to save his job. But it's a very easy path. Don't strike with O'Day. Mix in some takedowns. You win this fight. I don't know if he's going to do it, though. Steve Erceg should do it. He's no dummy. He should win. Very clear, easy path for him, but will he take it is going to be the question. Then we have the main event of the evening. What I'm not going to do in this main event is convince you to change your mind. What I am going to do is break down this fight, tell you the side that I'm on, but this is a much closer fight than the odds or the DraftKings fantasy pricing will tell you. We have Anthony Hernandez, a cardio demon. I basically call him a middleweight Merab. His wrestling isn't nearly as good as Merab's, not even remotely close. His striking isn't as good as Merab's either, but he's got that wild, insane, nonstop cardio. He does average more than 6 takedowns per 15 minutes, but they're not the cleanest takedowns. He just gets them. Like when he took down Michelle Pereira 10 freaking times in that fight. Took down Shabazian 6 times. Go watch the Shabazian fight. Shabazian was beating the shit out of Anthony Hernandez. He was beating the shit out of him. And then Anthony just survives because he's somewhat durable, gets his legs going, starts shooting takedowns, and takes over. Anthony Hernandez is a cardio demon. And the easiest narrative that our people are putting together are, if Anthony Hernandez survives early, he wins this fight. But I'm going to dispel some of those rumors. But before I do that, Anthony's been finished. Kevin Holland finished him. Obviously, Perez subbed him. And he is fighting unbelievably high-level world champion grappler Roman Dolidze. Roman Dolidze not only is a very high-level grappler, he is also an insanely heavy-handed striker. Roman Dolidze is not a pussy. He's all man. All man. He stole that dude's wife. Roman Dolidze has been taken down a couple of times in the UFC. And if we look at the people who took him down, you can ask for their x-rays as well. Because Jack Hermanson took down Roman Dolidze, immediately was in a pretzel. Jack Hermanson's a high-level black belt. He got fucking smoked. Phil Hawes, not really a high-level black belt, but a high-level wrestler, gets a beautiful duck under, gets Roman to the ground, immediately has his leg facing the wrong direction. He got fucked. Roman Dolidze is a very good fighter. Roman Dolidze hits very hard. Roman Dolidze has unbelievable grappling and okay cardio. The rumors that his cardio are dog shit, or the narrative that his cardio is dog shit, I don't know where that came from. Obviously, if we go back to the Trevin Giles fight, he slowed down bad in that fight. That was 2021. We are more than 4 years removed from that. And we have seen him since then have great cardio. 25 minutes on multiple occasions, not slowing down. And his only losses are very credible. The Trevin Giles one, first of all, that was a bad decision. He won that fight. So then he lost to Marvin Vettori. He just avenged that. He lost to Imavov. Imavov might literally be fighting for a title or the world champion by the end of the year. He beats Smith. He beats Holland. He beats Vettori. He could absolutely win here. I personally am on the Anthony Hernandez side. I do think Anthony Hernandez can survive early, get the takedowns, sort of wear Roman down. And not that Roman has trash cardio, but Roman, I feel like after a few of the grappling exchanges, when he throws his best tricks at him, if he doesn't get those submissions early, if he doesn't find a knee bar, doesn't hurt Anthony Hernandez somewhat early, then those same techniques aren't going to work later. So I don't think this is going to be, oh, Roman got tired. I do think it's going to be, I took you down, and if you aren't able to fuck me up almost immediately, you're not going to be able to do it the next round, or the next round. As we get greasier and sweatier, as we slow down a little bit, your jiu-jitsu is not going to get better. It's going to be the same jiu-jitsu, but now we're soaking wet. And now I felt it, so I know what to avoid. That's why I'm on the Anthony Hernandez side, but I think Roman's a great dog. If you're doing multiple lineups, then you need to have multiple lineups with that main event split. I don't think you double up the main event, but I certainly do think you need exposure to both. Guys, that's my breakdown. Take a look at what the community has done. This is not an accident. These are not just 2 random tickets. I used to open this video with a running total. And the reason I stopped is it got literally too overwhelming. Tickets constantly coming in. Did this, did that, did this, did that. And that's because we have one of the best offerings on the planet. We have the DraftKings Optimizer included in the membership. We have the event simulator included in the membership. We just added this a few months ago and asked me if we raised the price from $10 when we added this. The answer is no. We also have a post-mortem, which doesn't get enough attention from me. The post-mortem is a full recap of what DraftKings Fantasy looked like at the event before. Here's the post-mortem for UFC Vegas 108. Everything in green is the optimal lineup. These fighters were in optimal. You see every fighter's salary, what they scored, obviously if they won or lost, and then you can see what the ownership was, the true ownership, not the projections for those fighters. You see full optimal, and then if you work your way down, it'll also tell you how many people tied for first, where that optimal lineup was used or not used, and all of that. We have a whole suite of tools for fantasy. Everything I just mentioned for DraftKings is also available for FanDuel. WeWantPicks.com. Click Become a Member at the top. Quite literally the greatest, most robust, highest value package in this space. WeWantPicks.com. Click Become a Member at the top. Good luck this weekend. I am very excited for this. I am very excited for UFC 319. I am loving what's happening with the middleweight division right now.